Drivers of just married couples. What do newlyweds usually talk about and what was your most unforgettable ride? Bike taxi driver here. I have done a lot of these. Most of the time, they recap the night to one another. Maybe they'll go over some drama that happened between the families. Usually they are just exhausted after a long day and looking forward to enjoying their hotel room. Once I had a couple that had a total meltdown of an argument. It was both hilarious and terribly sad. The groom was blacked out drunk and the bride was fed up. She yelled at him the whole way to the hotel and he was a total drunk asshole in return. All while people on the street are congratulating them and me just listening. We arrived at the hotel and she stormed off. The groom asked me to take him to the bar around the corner to meet with his buddies. I obliged and he gave me a nice tip. I hope they're doing okay. I'm part of the married couple. We used my car as our bridal car. I was just a little quiet because my wife was talking to the maid of honor. Talking about the guests. The driver was the BF of them all. And Mo is best friend of my wife. So why not go together? Not much interesting stuff being talked about. Me. I was just thinking. So. This is how it feels to sit at the back passenger seats of my car. So much room. Hope driver drive slow. I need to absorb this feeling. Not a taxi driver, got married in January. Her younger brother gave us a ride home and he is a super innocent guy. Drunkenly said as he dropped us off at her house. Can't wait to duck your sister. I just shut the door and went inside to fulfill my promise. But I definitely cringed the next day. Did you two ever talk about that scene again? Me and my wife have. But never would I mention that to him. I know he has to remember that. Usually only hear slurping. Not a driver. But a couple. We didn't get to eat much at our reception BC, we were so busy talking to everyone. Someone packed to-go boxes for us and we stuffed our faces in the car. Laughed when I spilled food on my dress. I'm sure we kissed. Maybe? More focused on the food and talking about the high points of the ceremony reception. Before you ask, no alcohol involved. We had sex for the first time when we got to the hotel. We talked about how the event went and whether or not to rehome a stray puppy we had found or keep him. We kept him. He's a little asshole. But he's the cute. So he has that going for him. Not a driver but as a married. We were just both making the same plan to duck then go to sleep. We'd both been up since our solar clock and had an 11-hour drive the next day. Plus I wanted out of that ducking snow beast of a dress my mom demanded I have as the only child and first non-shotgun wedding in nearly 2 decades. I don't drink. So I drove the wife and I to our hotel. We mostly talked about the awkward people. Her mom that left early without saying anything. And how we barely ate anything. We got McDonald's on our way to the hotel. No joke, my husband and I hardly ate anything at our wedding. We stopped to get some takeout before we got to our hotel. In my fantasy my husband and I wouldn't be able to take our hands off each other as soon as we got to the room. In reality we sat in the common area of our hotel room. Ate fast food. And watched an Adventure Time marathon on Cartoon Network. But isn't that what love really is? Watching cartoons and eating takeout together? As the bride. I cried on the ride to our hotel because it was all over. A year and a half of planning. Scrutinizing every single little detail. It was a feeling of emptiness because the whole night flew by in the blink of an eye and I barely got to enjoy it. I'm sure the driver thought I was a mental case. I'm probably late to this one. But here goes. My husband and I were supposed to drive back to the hotel together for the after party in his car. His family decorated it and it was adorable. I had always wanted to ride in a just married car. My brother, who drove my car to the venue, bringing many of the decor items, was supposed to return my car to my house in the next day or two. He then proceeded to get sloshed. His girlfriend of a couple years at the time stood him up at my wedding to go to a theme park with her guy friend. I didn't want him driving my car. So I said screw it. I'll drive myself and stuck him in an Uber. I get in my car, in my floofy wedding gown. only to see that my brother left it with no gas. So there I am alone in a wedding gown. At nearly midnight pumping gas. I probably looked like a runaway bride. One of my husband's friends rode with him to the hotel. With people honking and waving at the newly married couple, we got a kick out of it later. At the time I was pissed. Limo driver here. I've picked up quite a few just married couples after weddings. There isn't really one story that stands out. Just mostly the couple recapping the evening. I've had a few where one partner is clearly more intoxicated than the other, so there's usually some embarrassment from the more sober partner. There was one time I picked up a couple the day after their wedding to take them to a major airport 3+ hours away, and they realized about halfway the guy didn't have his ID. New wife is freaking out in a panic while the husband is trying to stay calm. Luckily they were able to challenge the details on his ID to verify it was really him, and they got on the plane. As a chauffeur, I drove just the bride the day after the wedding. And it was about an hour-long drive. I didn't know anything about it. But she decided to share her story with me. Probably just because she needed someone to talk to. First, to begin with, I went over to the most expensive hotel in the city. It was and is a 5-star 5-diamond hotel. Over 100 years old. With the luxury, the ambience, the full 9 yards. But she wasn't at the hotel, but on a bench a quarter block down. The valet realized who I was looking for and actually pointed her out to me. And I approached her in person and on foot. I was able to confirm that she was my pickup. Over the course of about an hour-long ride, she told me that she had her wedding, and she and her soldier husband were going to stay at this ridiculously expensive and luxurious hotel. But his credit card was rejected. So they spent hours trying to borrow money from some friends. And this upset her so much that she decided to go back to her parents' house, which was in the same military town her new husband lived in anyway. She was upset and unhappy. And it was a somewhat uncomfortable ride. She tipped me when we got there. But it was not a fun ride. The trip back on my own was more enjoyable.